Welcome to The Change Officer. I'm Rachel Muleman. I'm here with a very special guest, Ahmed from Falak. I want to make sure that I pronounce this Falak Startups, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming today. It's really a pleasure to have you here and to find out you were one of the speakers at STEP today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and very, very good energy, very good vibes that you have here. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we wanted to get a little bit nitty-gritty about what you're doing here and what you're doing for Egypt startups, because you are a mover and shaker, as we say, the change officer. You're one of those guys that are out there in the field, in the nitty-gritty, seeing what's happening with the startups and the entrepreneurs.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, I'm Ahmed Hazem Dakroury. I'm the managing director of Falak Startups. Falak Startups is an accelerator based out of Cairo. We are a fund that invests in technology startups. We mainly invest in technology talents, and we help those startups accelerate their growth exponentially so that they could attract other investors to invest in them further on and help them continue their journey to being scale-ups.
Amazing. And so give me some numbers. What do you got? You've been doing this for a while. What's it, 70 startups so far? Is that one of the numbers I saw at your web?
Yep.
Right? Okay, so that's a great big number. And what are those startups? What do they look like? Give me a little overview of how that's structured.
All right. So the startups, as it's mentioned on the website, we've invested in 70 startups, accelerated more than 70 startups as well, because we run the program for our sister company as well, which is a fund that's a partnership between one of the very prominent investment banks in Egypt and our mother company, which is Egypt Ventures, the fund of funds and the main arm for deployment of investment in entrepreneurship, supported by the government represented in the Ministry of International Cooperation. So the main idea was to help the Egyptian entrepreneurship scene to develop and flourish by providing investments and providing support, whatever that may be. So we those startups as well. Back to your question, the startups portfolio looks like a very good representation of the startup ecosystem in Egypt. So it's a bit of everything, like health tech startups, SaaS products, other businesses that's digitally transforming some markets. So that's a very high level presentation of the portfolio that we have.
Okay, yep. It's great because it's that tech space, and that's why we're here at Startup, and I'm in STEP, and I'm assuming that's how you were invited to talk here as well, right? And tell me, what were your talk about? What were you informing people or notifying and giving them some education about?
Yeah, we were talking about how to build scalable startups, or how to build scalable products in general. It was a very interesting talk, actually. It was a bit more of a discussion on how to build those products, given that the audience were all entrepreneurs themselves. So they were actually teaching me what's working with them, or what's working for their startups and what's not. So it's a bit of it's a discussion. We're all trying to navigate through what's going on and try to figure out what works and what doesn't, and that's pretty much it. And it's always about different aspects of the life or the journey of the startup. So you have your product, you have the problem that this product is solving, and you have the development and the evolution of the means of distribution of this product. So it's always like development and evolution of things, and pretty amazing thing to be actually in this ecosystem that teaches you a lot, and teaches you a lot of innovative ways to think about even day-to-day things in your life, just by learning what the startups and the founders are doing with the products.
It's exciting, right?
Very much, yeah.
It's so exciting being at an event like this. You see all this, stimulation of people in creating, what they're trying to do and achieve. And so from the startup scene, are there some similar themes that you're finding are kind of their challenges as a business that's trying to grow and scale in Egypt specifically?
Well, in Egypt, yes, there's one predominant problem that we always face as startups or people that work with startups, which is talent, like acquisition, retaining, and maintaining. So this is a huge problem that would face Egyptian entrepreneurs. Basically, because it's the same problem that would have been with the startups that in Southeast Asia maybe would face. It's the availability of talent at very competitive compensation rates. So they usually get adopted by by competition or peers that are based out of Europe or North America, that could be a bit of a challenge. So, and we're not actually also the startup founders that would go ahead and come up with the good products and good solutions for certain problems would not necessarily be the best people managers. So it's also a very bit of much of a problem to go about that.
I would say it's probably the most expensive problem to have in any business, right?
Exactly, yeah.
You know, you can't guarantee they're going to stick around for a while. They really need to be invested on some level, right? Mm-hmm. And so your goals here today in Dubai, you know, I know you've been in the industry for a while. Tell me, did you know you were going to be here? Let's look back at your life 20 years ago. Did you imagine that you'd be running this business that's helping and really changing lives of business owners and entrepreneurs in the region?
Well, I would have never thought that, but it actually all makes sense backwards. Like when you connect the dots backwards, it all makes sense because what I started off doing, I learned entrepreneurship at school, which at the time nobody actually knew what entrepreneurship was. It wasn't even like a common thing to say. It wasn't a commonplace like it is now. And first, before I graduated, I went ahead and started a company with a co-founder of mine who's a school friend also, and it didn't go so well because we didn't have this much of exposure and we didn't have this much of support system and represented in all these things that we see today, as well as like something like what we're doing today. This hasn't been the case back then. So now I think it's a much better chance for startups to flourish and to come up with ideas and find the right support. And this is what actually excites me about the thing. So whatever I failed at, people could actually benefit from our support and help and funding to actually build similar or better products than we were trying to build. And I'm happy to be part of their success as well.
I love it because it's about learning from other people's mistakes,
yes,
right?
Yes,
and so let's talk about your first one. What was it? What were you doing?
Yeah, it was a simple e-commerce startup. So,
okay.
Yeah.
What problem did it solve?
It solved the problem that brick and mortar, the basic problem, something that's from 10 years ago. It wasn't a very complicated problem. It's the brick and mortar shops didn't offer much of good value for money. It was a very high operating cost business. So we're trying to just trim the fat of all the business and just offer the products online, just B2C, direct to customer kind of thing. And we had a good run, and then we ran out of funds, and it didn't just work out.
Okay, so it turned into an expensive hobby, right? Unfortunately, we see it quite a lot, right? And it's very easy to go there. So it's about how to preventing that from happening. And so through that journey, what is some of the tips that you can give startups that may be going that direction?
Exactly what you said. Just figure out a problem that is good enough to solve and sizable enough to solve, and not rather follow your intuition about figuring out that you have came up with a very good idea and get very excited about it and then just go and build it and there's no validation for it. Just find something that actually people would appreciate you solving for them. Just solve for your customers, not just solve for your idea and try to bring it to market and just push it down their throat.
Right, yeah, that probably won't work very well.
Yeah.
I have kids, it doesn't work with children, as much as we'd like to try it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to funding, I'm sure, there's a part of this where people here are looking for money. This is how they sustain it. This is how they grow, right? And what tips do you have for those startups that are looking specifically in Egypt, right? Because you are targeting that Egypt space of startups. What do they need before they even start looking for that funding, before they even go on that journey? What should they be thinking about?
They should be thinking about how to figure out how they're going to grow this company in a way that's going to make sense for the investor, that's going to give them substantial amounts of money, take very limited equity in their company, and then expect them to scale like crazy, like 100x of their business or something, so that they can make returns on their money, because it's a very high risk investment as well. So they need to put themselves in the investor's shoes and understand that if this is not a business that could scale to tremendous amounts of operation and bring in a lot of return to the investor, they're not going to look at it. So they need to give a proper roadmap to the investor as to how they're going to scale this business, how they're going to manage it at scale, and how they're going to give back a promising return and handsome return for the investor. That's what they're in for. No matter what investor would tell you about being a value add and anything, no, it's all about the money at the end. and of course with that would come some value because they want to maximize their value in their investment. But then at the end of the day, it has to make sense for the investor and the fund. So just be prepared for like the questions that will be asked about scalability, about the technicalities of the product and how scalable it could be. And I know I'm saying scalability a lot of times, right?
It's a good name. I mean, good word, right?
Yeah,
Scalability is what everyone's going for.
Yeah.
More bigger the business, the more money you make.
Yeah,
Right. Definitely. So tell me, we had made a very brief conversation about this, how you're going through the startup internally of your business, to go through that development of a startup and to help support those startups a little bit better. Tell me a little bit more about that. What were you referring to?
All right, so we like to refer to ourselves as startups ourselves. So we're called Falak Startups. We're actually a startup. And what we're trying to do is to fundraise for our business as well, to continue our journey of supporting those startups. The problem that we're solving is that the people want the patient funding, the supportive funding that they could get to scale their process or sometimes to build it. So what we're trying to do is to bring in more funds to the fund so that we can deploy it elsewhere, because right now, as we were talking, we are limited to investments only in the borders of Egypt. And we see a lot of potential in the region, and we don't want to miss on that. We want to participate in those success stories as well.
Well, I think if you're here, you're already in the starting ground. You know,
we had a lot of conversations around here,
and which is great.
Yeah.
This is a place to be. I mean, Dubai is. If you're here, you can make it anywhere in a sense, and you're part of that ecosystem that's beginning to start everyone. Like. You've been in that ecosystem that kind of is helping that development of that startup community. So when we look outside of Egypt, what is your long-term goal? What are some of your objectives of accomplishing, or where would you like to be in the next 5 years with your startup?
Well, what we want to do is to offer a very an offering that makes sense for the founders and for the LPs of the fund. What we're trying to do is to come up with innovative solutions for the funding and for the support that we give to the startups, so that we can make sure to provide very good returns for the investors, so that we can bring in more investors to deploy more capital into innovative solutions, and to offer the best programs and the best support, and as I said, the funding mechanisms and tools that makes the most sense for the startups, without giving them terms or conditions that they would not tolerate.
And at what stage do you say, bye-bye, thank you, it's nice to know you, we've helped you grow, and now we watch you go away,
Never.
Never, right? You stay
No.
on board.
Yeah.
You have anyone, maybe best story to tell in terms of someone that you really, really took a personal venture and connected with and really believed in what they were doing?
Yes, actually, we have a company. I actually hate to do that because I like them all, but
Okay.
this very one is very dear to me. It's called Bypass,
Okay.
and what Bypass does is that it extends a product that's called Health Tag, and what they're trying to do is to bring the information, the health information for their patients back in the hands of their patients. Because right now in Egypt, what's going on, and maybe in a lot of parts of the world, what happens is people don't have much access to their own personal health information that is scattered all around the healthcare service system in the country, or maybe across borders. So what they're trying to do is to consolidate that and give it back to the patients, and give them the power to build, and give the other health service providers the power to leverage on that data and offer better services to their users.
Okay, it's like really, supporting those users so they
Yes.
keep the data themselves, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's offline, I'm assuming,
Offline and online.
Right.
It's a cloud-based solution. That,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, and so this is something passionate for you because why?
Because I've seen the founder early on struggle to build a good product, and struggle to build a support system around him to scale up this solution and fundraise to continue their journey. And I really believed in him early on, and there's also a bit of an inclusion part of it, because he's not from No, it's everywhere you go, you'll find this centralization of focus in business when it comes to the capital. And he's not from the capital, so there's not much support where he lives. He's from a city called Monofea, and that was actually exciting for me as well, because there's this part of like including other parts of Egypt into this parts where maybe would be overlooked by other investors or maybe other supporting like organizations.
Amazing. So you had a little soft spot for that.
Yeah.
Watching someone down and out be able to succeed and really
Exactly.
grow. And was he able to meet some of your expectations?
Of course, yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Well done, though. Congratulations to him, because I know it's hard to choose your favorite child, especially when you have 70 of them, right?
Yeah.
Well, since you have so many of these guys and girls going through this struggle of, the entrepreneur space, you have to do everything. It's hard to prioritize when you are the ops, finance, marketing, sales. You're doing everything in your organization. So what tips do you give them, and how do you guys support them and prioritize which way to support them internally?
Well, it's inevitable, like I said, you have to do them, but you have to put in mind a roadmap where you're ready to delegate those things. So you can't do them and just put a plan that includes you keeping doing those things. You can't just do that. So you have to do them at first, and then just like document whatever you're doing, and then maybe pass this on and learn and just hire very good people that could take this forward. You can't just depend on yourself to do all of these things, and otherwise you're going to break down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? I mean, mental health day is something that every entrepreneur needs,
Yeah.
And do you find that with this space now, it's become very competitive in terms of incubators and support networks for entrepreneurs? So why would they choose yours over anybody else, to get and search for that support?
Well, the thing is, we're very passionate about what we're doing, so people know that it's very obvious. We're talking about what we're doing all the time, and we cannot actually disconnect. I don't know if that's going to be sustainable or that's healthy or not, but that's our case. We live and eat and breathe Falak, so that's something that cannot be overlooked. Like people notice that, so they know that once they get into the Falak family, as we call it, they're never out. We never look. We never we leave no one behind. We always support them with everything that we could, even personally. Like we are friends with almost all of our portfolio company founders. So this is something that you might not find any other place, and especially that we are on. That's on a team level, and then you have the links to the government that gives you access to a lot of initiatives and a lot of support that could be offered from the ministry side, the Ministry of the Ministry of International Cooperation. And then you have the network effect. It's a big family now of so many founders, and those founders have tried different things and tried things that worked and things that failed, and you can learn from them and they can give you access to things that otherwise would cost you a lot of time and effort to unlock from the beginning. So they save you a lot of time to just build on their success and just get access to the network of actually also the solutions that they actually build that you can onboard as a startup. So it's a whole ecosystem. Sorry for that. You told me to take care of the mic. So
yes, yeah. That's your baby. It's your baby. It's not a startup, but it's a mic.
Yeah.
Amazing. So if someone wants to join the Falak family, how do they do it?
They just go online and apply to Falak Startups, or just find anyone of the team and they'll help them in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it pretty seamless? I mean,
pretty seamless. Yeah.
And it's guaranteed?
It's not guaranteed. Like you have to pass some. Like you have to check the criteria, and then if everything is in place, we take you on.
Okay,
yeah.
Amazing opportunity. Ahmed, you've been so sweet and so nice and so gentle, and I feel like you have this very nurturing way of helping, people. There is like a very charismatic energy about you that you can help, that can see how you help other entrepreneurs and how it feels very genuine and honest. So I appreciate that.
It's the failed startup.
The mentality. It's coming to haunt you.
Yeah. It's the failed startup that I don't want anyone to just go through that. So I just want to do whatever I can to help people, and we as a team actually, we just want to help people grow and help people succeed. We just want to see them achieve great things. Yeah.
Amazing. So if you need support to help and grow, Falak Family might be right for you. Ahmed, you've been amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being here today with Change Officer. Good luck.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.